You've likely heard the saying that you can't pour from an empty cup, which essentially means that if you're burned out, you won't be able to give your work and your family your best. Unfortunately, burnout is rampant in both the corporate world and in entrepreneurial life. But it's all too often that we don't notice the signs of burnout until it's far too late and we're crying on the bathroom floor, wondering if and when we're ever going to get a chance to rest. If we haven't met before, my name is Bindi Belanger, and I'm the co host of the New CEO podcast, where we discuss topics to help you with your work and your life. And in today's conversation, I want to share with you a few ways to recognize when you're burned out or are about to get there. In my past life as a Fortune 500 exec, burnout was a frequent occurrence for myself and for many of my colleagues. Heavy workloads, looming deadlines, and unexpected roadblocks would have me white knuckling it through many weeks. I'd always tell myself that I could get back to relaxing after we passed this milestone or hit this metric. Inevitably, new delays or new projects would get piled on, and I would just take a breath and keep going. But as we all know, this is not sustainable. So after weeks or months like this, all while reassuring myself that it would go back to normal soon, I'd eventually reach a point where I got so frustrated with everything, I'd want to quit my job. And at the time, that wasn't feasible. So I'd have to figure out how to take some vacation time and get some much needed R&R. But it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to wait until we're already burned out to the point of wanting to quit before we do something. So here are a few ways to spot burnout as it's approaching so that you can get on top of it and do something about it. So, the first way to recognize burnout is you're getting short or snappy with loved ones and friends. The people in your support system aren't causing you the burnout, but when things get crazy at the office, we often and unfortunately take it out on those closest to us. The minute that we notice that we're less patient than we usually are, it's likely that the stress is starting to take its toll. The second way is you start skipping the rituals that make your day whole and balanced. For example, if you skip your morning meditation because you need to hop on an early Zoom, or you skip your evening workout because a meeting ran late again, and you just don't have the energy to move at that point in the day, or perhaps you've stopped joining your friends and your regular Zoom happy hour or FaceTime call. These rituals, although seemingly inconsequential, are actually really important to maintaining a feeling of balance. And once they start to slip, it's a sign that you're creeping towards burnout. And finally, the quality of your work begins to suffer. And that's a huge sign that burnout is either here or approaching. I used to work in technology, and I have to tell you, you could almost predict the increase in the number of software bugs as engineering workload started to increase. When engineers get overwhelmed with work, quality is often sacrificed for speed, which usually results in a subpar product. The same goes for people leading those teams, as well as people in other industries. As workload and stress increases, you start to miss potential risks. You don't notice budget overruns. You might miss signals from the market. And if your small mistakes and oversights are starting to become more frequent, you're probably on the verge of burnout. And when burnout strikes, it can feel all encompassing. It can affect your sleep, your diet, your exercise, your relationships, basically all of the things that contribute to your wellness. And it's almost like you've been digging a really deep hole, and then one day you look up and realize that you forgot to drop a rope down so that you could climb out of the hole. And being aware of early warning signs is like paying attention to the canary in the coal mine. The canary doesn't do you any good if you're not keeping an eye on it. So, those are three early warning signs of burnout. And I hope you'll join me and my co host, Natalie Underdown, in part two of this conversation, where we'll talk more about why it's so important to recognize burnout early. And then Natalie's going to share a little bit with us about what happened when she didn't recognize it early enough. And of course, we'll be sharing a number of future episodes with you on ways to counteract that burnout. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast or our YouTube channel where you can watch the podcast so you don't miss those episodes.